بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وأزواجه وذريته أجمعين. اللهم ربنا أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه. اللهم أرنا حقائق الأشياء كما هي ربنا زدنا علما وعملا وإخلاصا يا رب العالمين. اللهم انصر أولياءك في غزة وفي لبنان وفي مشارق الأرض ومغاربها. اللهم انصرهم على عدوك وعدوهم إنك على كل شيء قدير. اللهم سدد رميهم وسدد رايهم وسدد خطاهم وألف بين قلوبهم وأصلح ذات بينهم يا رب العالمين. اللهم فرج عنا وعن إخواننا في غزة وفي لبنان وفي مشارق الأرض ومغاربها. اللهم نفس كربنا وكربهم وثبت أقدامنا وأقدامهم والطف بنا وبهم يا أرحم الراحمين يا رب العالمين. اللهم أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه. اللهم أرنا حقائق الأشياء كما هي. اللهم ربنا زدنا علما وعملا وإخلاصا يا رب العالمين. اللهم صل على محمد عدد من صلى عليه وسلم وصل على محمد عدد من لم يصل عليه وصل على محمد كما أمرت أن يصلى عليه وصل على محمد كما يحب أن يصلى عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وأزواجه وذريته وصل على محمد كما تنبغي الصلاة عليه يا رب العالمين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. Allah Akbar. Okay, so but surely it may be objected. Our ideas have causes. We do not generate our own ideas just as we please. They plainly come to us from independent source. And what could this be if not the external world? But this point resounds wholly, Berkeley claims on its but this point resounds wholly, Berkeley claims, to his own advantage. For to cause is to act. For to cause is to act in its genuine sense. That's why Aristotle had to posit the ultimate or the first mover, which is unmoved. So for the cause is to act, and nothing is genuinely active but the will of an intelligent being. That's why it can't be the external world, but then it can be claimed that. So the objection is the ideas obviously in our mind must be caused, because we can't just willy-nilly, whenever we want, create ideas which the idea of table. I can think of an idea of table, but that's not the same thing as the idea of table in this sense, in the Lockean sense. There must be an external cause, or even if not as external cause, independent cause is outside me, or at least even if it is inside me, it is independent of me. And to this, Berkeley would reply that when we say cause, in really it's the intellect. External object in that sense cannot cause idea. External objects. But obviously to this you can reply that this intellect can cause these objects to cause these ideas. Why this intellect has to cause these ideas directly? That would be a reply to Berkeley's objection. And the further objection to Berkeley would be, that intelligent cause, it is God. Why would it make the world different from how it appears to us? You know what I mean? So it appears to us that external objects are causing it. So it would be more likely that he has made external objects to cause ideas in us rather than causing them directly, which is not what we actually experience. Okay. So Locke's inanimate material body therefore could not be true causes. So could not be true causes, but they can be like secondary causes, isn't it, of anything, the way I try to extract. That ideas occur in our minds as they do with such admirable order, coherence and regularity must be the will of an intelligent being. Sure, but why the will of the intelligent being has to work the way Berkeley is saying it should work? You know what I mean? Why it won't work the way it seems to us that it works, that is through external objects rather than directly. And of course we know that there is such a being, God, eternal, omnipresent, omnipotent, in whom we live and move and have our being, who works in all and by whom all things consist. Berkeley wonders at the stupidity and inattention of men who, though every moment surrounded with such clear manifestations of deity, are so little affected by them. Are yet so little affected by them manifestation that they seem as it were aligning with the excess of light or darkness, because there's shaitan as well. So what Berkeley is saying obviously is what Sophia and Aulia or Rafa have said as well. And Quran says that too. And in that sense, the world is ayat, the symbols and signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But that doesn't mean that he has to create those ideas directly. So we can accept, and we do accept Berkeley's claim as Muslims, obviously. I mean, philosophically, there's no knockdown argument support that, but that's how we see the world. But why that Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has to create ideas directly and not through not through external objects, for example. After all, he sends his angels and he does his work through his angels. And probably a lot of angels are what we call cosmic forces and things. Not all of them, but and you can see Berkeley was a profoundly religious man. Now, obviously, he was a Christian priest as well, and due to that, I mean, for example, in Indian subcontinent, our scholars, I mean, not of one of the scholars, Maulana Abdul Salam Nadwi, he was philosopher as well, and he actually read Berkeley and translated Berkeley's work, and also Hume's work, and probably Locke's work as well. Not Abdul Salam Nadwi, Abdul Bari Nadwi. He was one of the Khulafa of Maulana Ashraf Ali Thanvi. And he actually was he adopted a Berkeleyan position. He was a follower of Berkeley in that sense. And he said that Berkeley's philosophy was Berkeley's philosophy was the nearest to the Islamic teachings as well, which makes sense because Christianity and Islam and their basic understanding are the same, or at least from the same light. But the thing is, you can have more than one philosophical position, and Wallahu alam, what is the actuality? We will never know before the day of judgment, but philosophical positions are compatible with this vision of Berkeley. More than one philosophical position is compatible with this Berkeley's position, and that's the important thing which people sometimes misunderstand or overlook, and that's why they aren't able to differentiate between religious or Islamic doctrine and its philosophical justification, because the same doctrine can have more than one philosophical understanding and justifications. And since we are always behind the veil of ignorance as far as we live in this world, no matter how enlightened we are, that's why there's no way of knowing decisively. There's no way of knowing decisively which position is the actuality or the reality, because more than one positions are compatible with this ultimate metaphysical outlook, which Berkeley presents here. Okay, so finally, and certainly for Berkeley, more satisfactorily, he found himself in a position to put the physical scientist firmly in his place. So if there's no matter, no material, but there are no corpuscles, no insensible particles, that the whole corpus of mechanical physical theorizing in which Locke delighted cannot possibly be, for there is simply nothing for it to be true. Finally, and certainly for Berkeley, more satisfactorily, he found himself in a position to put the physical scientist firmly in his place, for there is no matter, for there is no matter, no material body, there are no corpuscles, no insensible particles. The whole corpus of mechanistic physical theorizing in which Locke delighted cannot possibly be true, for there is simply nothing for it to be true of. Now, from a philosophical point of view, even from a religious point of view, I mean, this can be taken in two different ways, or understood in two different ways. So, this denial of material objects, what he's saying is, they are ideas, so what we see, like table, is not matter, which consists of corpuscles, these small atoms or whatever they are. But so this comes from Latin corpus, which just means body, a small body. And philosophically, it meant corpuscles mean minute particles. Minute particles regarded as the basic constituent of matter. So Berkeley says that ideas are not caused by these independent bodies or matter, but by active intelligence, which is God. So God produced. That's where ideas get their independence and objectivity from. And Berkeley Berkeley takes this to mean that there's no matter. There are only ideas. But this can be taken to mean that there's no matter at all, or there's no matter in the sense in which Locke took it, something which can exist independently of the active intelligence. So we don't have to deny matter. And especially the Christian, you talk about the body of Christ and all those things. How can you deny matter or body or corpus, corpus Christi? So this same intellect, the same intelligent being, the same supreme being, God, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He created matter as well as ideas and soul and immaterial things. None of the things exist independently of it, but that doesn't mean that they don't exist. Our minds, in the same way, our ideas in the same way don't exist independently of us. So I'm not saying that Berkeley's position can be refuted, or it's hard to refute his position unless one, especially if one accepts Locke's epistemology, which we don't have to. But it seems odd that it seems to us that there is an independent object in a relative sense, but the ideas are really caused by gods. But it appears to us that they are caused by independent matter. So that seems odd. Why wouldn't you? I mean, just to take the principle of the Occam razor, for example, you would say, you will take the position that they are independent but relatively independent, and God causes them to cause ideas or impressions in our minds. So why that position is not satisfactory? Okay. In his in his early major work, Principal Berkeley embraced this position most unqualified one. There is a modest role for the scientist He there argued in observation of description of the objects of experience in the search of true generalization about the course of our ideas, that is, of natural phenomena. But all references to items supposedly underlying, but that's Locke's position, not necessarily a scientist's position, supposedly explanatory of, according to Locke's, more real than human experience, must be dismissed as moonshine, the product of mere confusion. So here it would seem that what he is denying is, as I said earlier, is not the material object, but so-called fictitious substance which lies behind that or underneath that. So what he is denying there is Locke's conception of substance. But later, regarding perhaps as over drastic this wholesale dismissal of not only Locke but also, for example, Gassendi, and Newton and Boyle. Gassendi. Here, Gassendi was a French philosopher and contemporary of and a critic of Descartes. Newton Boyle, he devised a strikingly ingenious variant position in which, though running hopelessly against the main tendency of his age, he foreshadowed the idea of many contemporary philosophers of science. In his pamphlet, The Motto of 1725, he still maintained that the corpuscular theories of matter, for example, or the particle theory of light could not be true, but that they may nevertheless be allowed, not indeed as truth, but useful fictions. Explanation. The theory of the corpuscular structure of matter makes possible the exact mathematical expression of formulae by which we can make very valuable calculation operation, but there is no need to make the supposition that the corpuscles and particles of the theory actually exist. But this difference between fiction and actuality you can't decide about it. You can't have a decisive argument for or against it. That's the thing. And how are you going to make a distinction between actuality and fiction in the first place? If you assume that everything is dependent on God. So actuality is dependent on him too, and fiction is dependent on him too. But anyway, this is more, at least halfway between the second explanation we gave, or second possibility we gave. So long as it is useful to us to speak and to calculate as if they exist, let us so speak and calculate. Such intellectual dodges serve the purpose of mathematical science and reckoning. But to be of service to reckoning and mathematical demonstration is one thing, to set forth the nature of things is another. In other words, science gives us, the purpose of science not to understand things, is to how to manipulate things. And the ultimate understanding, which is a metaphysical understanding, ultimately depends on something which is beyond science. Doesn't mean it is independent of science or had nothing to do with science, but it is beyond science. It is Locke's concession, one might say, to the physical scientists or metaphysical. It is Locke's concession, one might say, to the physical scientists or metaphysical authority that Berkeley, at every stage, implacably opposes. Yeah, so Locke is not a scientist, he is a philosopher, so that's the thing. Two of Berkeley's later works may be mentioned briefly. I think we'll stop here and probably. I think we have covered the basics, but well, since we have started, we will complete the reading of the entry anyway. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك وصل وسلم على سيدنا ومولانا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا ومولانا محمد وبارك وسلم سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله اللهم صل على محمد حتى لا يبقى من صلاتك شيء وبارك على محمد وعلي حتى لا يبقى من بركاتك شيء وصل على محمد وعلي حتى لا يبقى من سلامك شيء وصلى الله تعالى على رسول خير خلق محمد وأزواجه وذريته أجمعين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين آمين آمين يا رب العالمين.